All right, family. It's your favorite wild child. It's Chelsea Nebby. Nebby at the moment. But anyway, yeah, so today I'm just going to talk about the basic spices. Um, these are what I feel are the basic spices that you'll need if you want to follow my cooking channel seamlessly. Also, quick disclaimer, I'm well aware that this video is roughly 50 minutes long and not all of you care for the many gems hidden inside. If you fast forward to the end of the video or if you look in the description, you pretty much have all you need to know. I list all the spices that I mention in the video at the end, and I list the price. Everything that I got from Walmart because I wanted to get the cheapest price so that, you know, most people won't feel like this channel is going to break their bank. So with that being said, I'm going to continue the video. Second disclaimer. I am well aware that the audio on this recording, on this video, is absolute trash. I need to warn you all, especially if you have headphones, it may sound peachy keen now, but it gets really treacherous and it's annoying, and I'm not going to refilm this because, like I said, it's 50 minutes. But I found a solution. Future videos will not be like this. Just a heads up, the audio is very scratchy. At some points you can barely even hear me, and then pop, it goes back to regular. It's fine. I was being an amateur, now I'm professional. Let's resume the video. I broke them down into different categories that I have listed here. First, I have the American basics. For all I know, these could be basics across the world. In some ways they are. Like I have like onion powder, which I don't even think I'll be using a lot because when I made these recipes, I did use onion powder, but I realized I could just use onions in a very like seamless way. And I'll probably get into that a bit later, but um, I mean, Americans are not the only ones who use onion. I don't even think onion powder is like an American basic, like or an American staple. Then garlic salt and all this stuff. I do have, salt and pepper, like black pepper and all these things, and I'll get into all that. Um, I have Cajun Creole. If anybody is actually from Louisiana and is actually Cajun and Creole, please don't at me. I'm just an immigrant trying to make things work. Like, I'm not. Same with any Mexican watching this video. The only Mexican spice I have is a packet of taco seasoning. It is what it is. This like core basic may evolve and grow over time. I kind of don't think it will, but it might. Um, I feel like I don't have much else to say. At the end of the video, after I list all the ingredients one by one, I am going to list the price. I think I already calculated it, and if you are starting from absolute scratch and you want to buy all these spices, it's going to cost you like $51 roughly, and it's going to last you a long time. The only thing that may not last you a very long time would be the olive oil, depending on like which recipes you make more often than others. But all in all, and also the garlic salt. But most, if not all, the recipes should last you a while. So let's just get into it. So here we have some good old extra virgin olive oil. To be honest, I don't even know why I use like extra virgin as opposed to like regular virgin. Regular, sorry, not regular virgin, just like regular olive oil. I don't think, maybe, I don't even know. Is there like a regular virgin olive oil, then an extra virgin, and then like a non-virgin defiled olive oil? Like, I don't understand, but I pretty much, for everything that requires oil in terms of like cooking, which is what this channel is about, pretty much, yeah, everything that requires oil, I use extra virgin olive oil. It's usually the base that I cook anything that's supposed to be fried or roasted. Yeah, I don't even know why I'm going into these delineations because anything that requires oil, I'm going to use extra virgin olive oil. Now, I will say there's been a recent, I guess, maybe renaissance isn't the word I'm going for, but a recent revival of coconut oil. And you will not find coconut oil anywhere on this channel. I'm just not into coconut oil. I haven't really found it. Like, I think for me, coconut oil has a very strong smell that is appealing. I like to use it as a lotion, so I smell like sweet. But coconut oil, I think with food, it can easily, pass on a flavor to a food that I may not necessarily want. Like, I wouldn't really cook an Italian dish with coconut oil. I wouldn't really cook an Asian dish with coconut oil. It might turn out really nice, but I wouldn't. I will say, though, the one dish that I do prefer to use coconut oil for is when I'm cooking plantain, or when I'm frying plantain. I do feel like coconut oil really elevates plantain to this really nice level. And I got that suggestion from a friend in college. And it really rocked my world. I really believe in cooking plantain with coconut oil, but that's it. All in all, I pretty much use extra virgin olive oil for like everything. I encourage you, right here you see like a small bottle because I wanted to give you guys like the cheapest version of everything. But I encourage you to get like a larger bottle. It will be worth your money, and it doesn't go bad over time, so you might as well invest in that. Also, one more thing that I almost forgot to mention. Throughout this channel, I will try my best to talk about the health benefits of all the food that I present, because this is supposed to be a health channel. It's supposed to, incorporate healthy eating into whoever's watching. But at times, I guess, I may not list the health benefits because there are so many. And oftentimes I feel like when there are so many health benefits, a lot of those health benefits are actually like grossly exaggerated and or just, I don't know, mostly a lot of times, like for example, apple cider vinegar, a lot of the health benefits are real, and then a lot of them are also just really exaggerated, and some of them are not real. Some of them aren't really backed by research. Not saying it's a bad food. I think if it does have a lot of health benefits online, if you find a lot of health benefits online, then it is healthy. But, for something like extra virgin olive oil, I was tempted to go and, look up the health benefits, but I just kind of felt like it's not really necessary. It's just good for you, okay? Trust and believe that it's not a bad oil. I think there are some bad oils like peanut oil. Some people have started demonizing vegetable oil. I grew up on vegetable oil. I personally just like olive oil for the taste. I feel like it's very flexible. Is that the word I'm going for? Flexible as a oil in terms of taste. But yeah, let's move on. Okay, so here we have the Great American Basics. Let's just start from left to right. Black pepper. To be honest, I'm not a fan of black pepper. I don't feel like it does a whole lot for a dish. And I think part of the reason why I'm not a fan of black pepper that much is because it's one of the few spices that, in my opinion, can actually go bad. Like, not that it will grow mold or anything, but I kind of feel like if the black pepper isn't like fresh or of a certain quality or made from a certain brand, then it doesn't really like taste like anything, or it might even taste stale. Maybe that's just been my experience. Maybe I've, had one too many bottles of black pepper that's been sitting out for so long. I don't use it in a lot of recipes, although the recipes that I do use it in are either roasting recipes, like if I'm roasting vegetables, or if it's just some sort of like all-American recipe. I want to say I use it in deviled eggs. Oh my God, I wish this wouldn't. But I'm sorry that you guys always have to hear that. But I want to say I use it in some deviled eggs recipe. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, it's really just there because of roasting, and because if you really want to get into cooking, it's something good to have, because a lot of recipes, when they call for salt and pepper, that's the pepper that they're talking about. Moving on, you might see the Morton iodized salt in the background. Um, so I really have nothing against this salt. Um, if you, I wish I didn't like crowd it, but on the actual bottle it says that it's fortified, or yeah, fortified with iodine, which is a necessary nutrient. That's all well and good, but I don't know if maybe it's because I'm using an old container of salt, but I find that when I made a lot of the recipes that I have recently been filming, I was actually using sea salt. It wasn't like any special kind of sea salt. It wasn't like Celtic sea salt or kosher sea salt. It was just regular sea salt. I think I got it at Walmart, and it actually looked like the Himalayan pink salt bottle. I got it at Walmart. It was called Mediterranean sea salt, and it just tasted fresh and, of a higher quality. And I find that this salt, I don't know if it's because it's old, because I've never had an issue with this salt before. I don't know if it's because it's old or because I've just, elevated my palate, to be honest. But I just don't really like it. I don't really recommend it. Now, if you have it in your pantry, you don't really have to go out and get a new salt if you don't want to. But if you're serious about, cooking quality food and you want an upgrade in your life, I would recommend getting sea salt. Now, to my knowledge, I don't think most sea salts are fortified with iodine. I don't know how essential iodine really is to your life. Like, I don't know if you can get it from other sources, but I also don't think you'll die if you don't use this salt. So moving on, we have garlic salt. Garlic salt, as you will find, is one of my favorite spices. Garlic salt is like, it's like, what is the word I'm looking for? It's like a vice? Is that, no, that's not the word I'm looking for. Garlic salt is kind of like my downfall, to be honest, because when I was younger, I really prided myself on being an authentic cook. Like, you know, I hated like, cake recipes that came in a box. What is that called? Like box cakes. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you get the cake in a box and then you just add like eggs and milk and that's it. I'm like, you didn't really make the cake. You're supposed to really get down and dirty. I loved making pies from scratch. I loved making, cakes from scratch, elaborate meals from scratch. And growing up, garlic wasn't like a really big part of my, you know, life or heritage, like, or culture. I think if I was Italian, it probably would be, but like my mom never really used garlic. I don't really know if garlic is a thing in Nigerian recipes. But when I started cooking and I saw so many recipes that did use garlic, I ended up using minced garlic that comes in, that container. And I did feel kind of fraudulent. I did feel kind of fake, kind of hypocritical, kind of bad because I felt like I should really use the real garlic. But at the end of the day, garlic is kind of annoying to work with. Like you have to peel it and it's this whole thing. Like I just, it's especially because over time, I've had less and less time to really cook. Excuse me. So, yeah, garlic salt, I guess, is maybe kryptonite is the word I'm going for. I don't know. But garlic salt, you will see that in like 90% of my recipes. It's a shame, but also it makes the dish taste good. So if you also, another reason why I like garlic salt is because I feel like oftentimes if and when I use garlic salt, then I don't need to use regular salt. Whereas I think if I had used like minced garlic, I would feel the need to add regular salt on top of that. So it's really up to you. If you don't want to use garlic salt and you want to use minced garlic or even fresh garlic, kudos to you. I would recommend, adding a bit more regular salt to your taste um, as you deem necessary. But garlic salt, I'm telling you, it's in like almost all of my recipes, and I'm not ashamed. Um, yes, moving on, onion powder. So when I started out, I definitely used onion powder, not as much as I used garlic salt, but oftentimes they would go hand in hand. If I was using onion powder, if I was using garlic salt, I'd probably use onion powder. Um, But I personally, I don't know what it is, but I personally felt like over time, when I was using onion powder, it would just come out in my sweat. I even feel that way still with garlic salt. But I really felt like onion powder was a different level. So I started using it less and less. And I really would only use onion powder if I had to season something that was very like strong or bold, like beef, for example. I mean, I might use it for fish just because like something like swai fish needs a lot of help to shine. I can't even consider swai fish as a food that can shine. It's really just a helper. It will always be a background food, a background protein. But yeah, like onion powder, I used it a lot. It's in a lot of my recipes, but I think as I mentioned earlier, I've kind of now, at least, for the moment, now that I'm in Texas, I've been using a lot more of like chopped onions. So I'll just like chop 2 or 3 onions, put it in a container, leave it in the fridge. And then when I want to use onions, um, then I will just, instead of dicing it fresh or using onion powder, I would just like take it out the fridge and just use that. And it's been really nice. There are some recipes that I do think you need onion for. And of course, I will tell you when that is the case. But there are some recipes that I just kind of feel like you don't really need onion. And I still feel this way, even though I have chopped onions in the fridge. I kind of feel like you don't really need onion. You might want, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder to give that extra boost of flavor, but you don't really need onion flakes. I feel like onion has a lot of sulfur in it, and I forget if that's good for you. Not gonna lie, I do think onions are good for you on some level, but it's not that good for you. Like, I'm not Shrek, so I'm not really gonna vouch for an onion like that. Anyway, moving on, cinnamon. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Cinnamon, I don't think appears in any of my recipes at the moment. I just feel like I would be wrong to, present this curated spice list to you without adding cinnamon. I just think cinnamon is so nice. I think the reason why it's not in a lot of my recipes is because um, I don't really eat a lot of sweet things, and if I am eating something sweet, it's maybe more on the fruity side as opposed to like usually growing up, I guess, when I would use cinnamon, it would either be for like a milky drink, that's one, or I mean it does pair well with bananas, and I have nothing against bananas. Um, And cinnamon is known to boost your sugar metabolism, which to this day I'm kind of not exactly sure what that means. I guess, I don't know, maybe it speeds up glycolysis. I'm not really sure what that means. But I remember Googling, like, what should I do if I've eaten too much sugar and I'm, feeling bad about myself? They usually say, like, eat some cinnamon because it boosts your sugar metabolism. So there's that. But I don't think it's really going to rock your world or change your life or really undo the damage that you've done. Nevertheless, cinnamon is also used in a lot of baked goods, a lot of the best baked goods, like, coffee cake and, um, anything that would go good with nutmeg, you can probably also use cinnamon. I don't even know why I'm saying this because that's not an endorsement of cinnamon in any way. I just kind of feel like, especially if I'm presenting, an all-American spice list, which I'm not necessarily claiming this is an all-American spice list, but I just kind of feel like if you're going to go to great lengths to fortify your spice rack, throw in cinnamon. Moving on, paprika. I like paprika. I don't really know why though, because for every dish, I think I've only really used it I never really, like growing up, I never knew what paprika was good for. I never knew how to use it. I never used it a lot. And on the rare occasion that I did use it, I wasn't really sure what it added to the dish. To my knowledge, I think I only really use paprika in the Creole Cajun inspired dishes, like the red beans and rice inspired dishes pretty much. And even when I use it, because sometimes I'll forget to use it, then I'm like, oh yeah, add paprika. And I honestly don't really notice a huge difference in taste, but I do like the color that it adds. So, work with me. What can I say? Have paprika in your pantry. It's nice to have. It does add a nice color. And I do think that, visual aesthetics are important when you're cooking. Moving on, we have crushed red pepper. This one makes me laugh because I also do not have it in any of my recipes. But I used to use it so much when I was younger. Just because if I wanted something spicy, I would add red peppers, not bell peppers, crushed red peppers. And it's funny because when Beyonce came out with Formation, she was like, I have hot sauce in my bag, swag. I knew I couldn't relate to that because I really was not a fan of hot sauce. I loved spicy food. Pepper soup was by far my favorite Nigerian dish. But I just kind of felt like I think I was introduced to hot sauce with like a very like weak and watery hot sauce, and I kind of felt like, ugh, I don't really want this in my food. But since then, I've learned that there are certain hot sauces for certain, like you have to find your hot sauce. You have to find your hot sauce and all will be well. I mean, me personally, I don't know if sriracha really counts as hot sauce, but I will put sriracha on everything. But anyway, I digress. If you want to make something spicy, have crushed red pepper. I do not have it in any of my recipes, at least I don't think, but if you want it, go ahead. I think crushed red pepper, in my opinion, is also interchangeable with cayenne pepper. But again, I don't personally add it to my recipes, but if you want to, go ahead. Also, it is obviously interchangeable with hot sauce. So again, if you want it, add it. If not, that's cool too. Okay, so moving on, we have chili powder. So chili powder actually reminds me a lot of cumin in that what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. No. Okay, let me stop. Yeah, like okay, cumin, didn't make the list because I really don't think it's good for anything. Like the only thing I can think of is okay, I guess you can use it with chicken, and I would probably encourage you to also use thyme because, like I said, it's not really good for anything on its own. But and a lot of other salts and spices because it's not really good for anything. But chili powder, I put it on the list because I do have a chili recipe on the list, and I do think chili powder has a bit more potential than like cumin or and even paprika. Honestly, I do feel like chili powder is not just for the color, but I can't really say too much on it at the moment. Like I said, it's really just on there because I have a chili recipe that I haven't even tried out yet. So maybe it's not even essential to the recipe, but whatever. Moving on, we have the star of the show, or I guess the main supporting actress, because garlic salt is really the star of the show. We have Himalayan pink salt. I love Himalayan pink salt. I love it for like so many reasons. One, it's cute, it's pretty. Two, there are some really important, really nice minerals in there. I think things like calcium, I even want to say phosphorus is in there. So it packs a bit more punch than your regular sea salt or even your regular Morton, iodine salt. The third reason why I like it is because when I first used Himalayan pink salt, I used too much, and I'm notorious for using too much salt, and it's really quite sad because I am Nigerian, 100%. I'm of West African descent, 100%, and anyone who is of West African descent should be careful about the amount of salt that they put in their diet because from what I've heard / learned, people of West African descent are at a higher risk for hypertension and high blood pressure because, in terms of an evolutionary context, the soil of West Africa doesn't have a lot of salt in it. So our bodies are just used to consuming less salt in general. So it's best to keep it that way. I think it even goes so far as to um, to like, what's the word I'm looking for? I think this point is even so important that when you look at the recommended blood pressures for like the different races, Black people's recommended blood pressure is lower than the general, aka white, recommended blood pressure. So it's kind of serious, you know. I mean, given I think if you oversalt a food, it's not going to taste good anyway. But if you do lean towards being too salty, no pun intended, like myself, then Himalayan pink salt is just great because, like I said, the first time I used it, I put too much salt and I could taste it. And it didn't really, I mean, it didn't, I guess in a way it did overpower the meal. Um, but really what I'm trying to say is that I could taste the minerals, all the trace minerals that are in Himalayan pink salt, and I just kind of felt like, you know, it's too much salt. So I feel like the minerals in Himalayan pink salt prevent you from using too much because then you'll start to taste it. I just love Himalayan pink salt for that experience and for the fact that it's pretty and it's trendy and all that. So let's move on. Okay, so this is kind of petty, but I don't want to put nutritional yeast into the American basics category because I do not feel like it's an American basic at all. Um, is it essential? No, it's kind of not. I really just got introduced to nutritional yeast because I tried going vegan for, you know, about a month or two and it didn't work. And shout out to Sweet Potato Soul though. She's the one who inspired me. I just stumbled upon her channel, loved her aura, and I was like, I want to go vegan. I would say that she's like the first Black vegan that I saw in the media, if you could even call like YouTube a media thing. But I just loved her channel, and she totally inspired me to go vegan. And I really just did it because I wanted to incorporate more vegetables into my life. And I did end up incorporating more vegetables in my life. And it's actually her channel that showed me um, how to make red beans and rice. And basically, if you know anyone or anything about the vegan community, you know that nutritional yeast is their jam. Like anytime they keep saying it tastes like cheese, that's a grand stretch. But it does have a really nice flavor and it is really good for you. It's packed with B vitamins, which, you know, ladies or fellas, who cares? If you're trying to grow your hair, you need B vitamins, especially B12. It's so good for that. And it's not one of those things, because for example, Himalayan pink salt, even though it does have this reputation of having these like trace minerals that are important, it's not really going to like rock your world in that sense. For example, one of the trace minerals in Himalayan pink salt is calcium. If you're deficient in calcium, don't rely on Himalayan pink salt. You know what I mean? But nutritional yeast, if you're deficient in B vitamins, you can really lean into nutritional yeast. I think something else, I don't know if you can see it clearly on the container, but it also says that it's a good source of protein and fiber. Again, that's a stretch in my opinion. It does have a little bit of fiber, it does have a little bit of protein, but it's not really going to do much in that category. I wouldn't rely on it for fiber and protein. But it does have a nice flavor. I do remember reading somewhere that nutritional yeast, when you first incorporate it into your diet, it can, what's the word and how should I say this? It can help you use the bathroom. That's what I'll say. It can help you do a number two. And I feel like I experienced that, but like I also didn't use like a whole lot of nutritional yeast. Plus I didn't really have any digestive issues to begin with, but I do think it acts like a very mild laxative when you first introduce it to your diet. And then after a while, your body will just probably get used to it. But yeah, I love the B vitamins. I also think it does lend a really nice, unique flavor. Once I showed my mom nutritional yeast, she started using it on everything. Me personally, I think it really brings life to this zucchini recipe that I have, and I also think it's nice on popcorn. Is it an American staple? Is it a basic? No, no, it's not. You can live without it, but is it nice to have? Is it healthy for you? Absolutely. Okay, again, if you are of Cajun or Creole descent, please don't at me. Please don't drag me in the comments. I'm just trying my best. Anytime I'm cooking a Cajun or Creole dish, because I am not, from Louisiana or from that area of the US, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I really rely on very commercial products to get me through. And it is what it is. Listen, if you actually are of Cajun, even the fact that I use Cajun and Creole interchangeably shows how little I know about this culture. Because I know that there is like a distinct difference between Cajun people and Creole people, and perhaps even Cajun food and Creole food, but that difference is for sure lost on me. Um, so I just kind of collected the Creole seasonings that I've been exposed to over time. The one in the front is the one that I found when I first started, attempting to compile a cookbook. When I first started creating recipes when I was in Las Vegas, um, I was looking for Cajun slash Creole cooking. I really hate the fact that I use them both interchangeably, but I was looking for like some Cajun seasoning. And honestly, I think I was looking for the Slap Ya Mama brand because I saw Sweet Potato Soul use it in her red beans and rice recipe, but I couldn't find like anything. The only Cajun seasoning I could find was the New Orleans Cajun Weber, seasoning. So I was like, you know what, I'll just use it. And it works well enough. It adds that, Southern pizzazz or whatever. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. But yeah, it does add some nice flavor. Um, the Tony whatever, that Creole seasoning I only added because I'm almost certain that that seasoning was like in my house at some point in time. I don't even think I bought it, but it was in my house at some point in time and I remember liking it. So I just kind of threw it in. I wanted to revisit and see like which of these three seasonings I actually like the best for my Cajun slash Creole dishes. There's really only two that I have at the moment. So don't get excited. But um yeah, so also the Slap Your Mama brand, I literally have not tasted it to this day, but it seemed like more of a popular brand, at least when I was watching Sweet Potato Soul. And so I wanted to give it a shot. So, probably throughout the course of this channel, I'll figure out which of these three seasonings I like the best. I think the cheapest one is the one in the front, but all three of them, I think the cheapest one is like $2. The most expensive one of the three is like $4. So it is what it is. But yeah, that's Cajun slash Creole seasoning. Also, something that I forgot to mention that is pretty important because I only have like two Cajun slash Creole inspired dishes, and well, actually, I have like three or four, but all except one kind of require this product called liquid smoke, and it pretty much just adds a smoky flavor to the dish. In fact, in Sweet Potato Soul's video, she actually had smoky paprika, but I've never seen smoky paprika at like Walmart or anywhere, so I didn't bother getting it. But I really do feel like adding liquid smoke makes a huge difference. I bought this liquid smoke at in when I was in Las Vegas, and it was pretty good. And then I came to El Paso and I started, creating this channel, and I couldn't find the same one that I bought before, but I ended up buying this. So I think the hickory flavor. The weird thing is that when I first bought liquid smoke, hickory flavor was just what was around, so I took it. I don't know if that's really the best flavor of smokiness, but yeah, I just wanted to throw it in there as another essential basic spice. Okay, Italian seasoning. I really love this category because I definitely grew up around a lot of Italians. I grew up in New Jersey. I spent a lot of time in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Spent a little bit of time at Clifton, New Jersey. Um, I spent a great deal of time in the Orange, Irvington, Newark area. Even like I was there as a really small child. Then I moved away, but then my family always went back just to go to church there. Um, but even when I was in Orange, when I lived in Orange, I went to this like Catholic private school. So, um, whatever. Most of the Italians I know are from New Jersey or from East Brunswick. And so I just was exposed to a lot of Italian food. And I think most Americans, have tasted pizza. Most Americans know a little something about spaghetti and meatballs, lasagna. Shoot, I loved Costco lasagna. But anyway, basil, Italian seasoning, and oregano. So I put basil on the list because I kind of feel like if you are making an Italian dish, you always want the option of adding basil. I know that my mom used to add like fresh basil leaves to her very Nigerian red stew growing up, but um, I don't know. I don't really use a lot of basil in my recipe. There might be one recipe that I use basil. I also remember seeing Italian seasoning in my house growing up. I can't imagine why, to be honest. I really cannot imagine why, but it was there. And I also think that it's good to have if you're making an Italian dish and you just want that finishing touch. Personally, I always wonder, like, how Italians feel about Italian seasoning. Like, if I went to Walmart and I saw this bottle that said Nigerian seasoning, I would be very confused. I'd be very confused. I would dismiss it. I wouldn't even try it. But hey, maybe Italians feel like, it works pretty well for them. Oregano, to my genuine surprise, is really the spice that I use most often when I'm making something that is Italian inspired or in some way reminiscent of Italian food. As far as I'm concerned, most, if not all, no, I have to say most, because I do have an Alfredo dish that doesn't necessarily meet these requirements. And honestly, sorry, honestly, I'm not sure that Alfredo sauce is inherently Italian. I think it's actually like Italian American, to be honest. But most of the Italian dishes that I make, or rather the Italian inspired dishes that I have on this channel, only qualify as such because they use tomato and like mozzarella, or tomato and Parmesan, or tomato and some cheese. That's really what makes something Italian to me. So, I'm just giving very honest disclaimers. But I really like oregano because it really adds a nice smell. It's a nice finishing touch. I'm not really into like extraneous spices or extraneous, garnishes. Like, I'm not into parsley and cilantro because I don't know what they're for. I think one of them has a reputation of tasting like soap. But oregano, when I add it to the end of a dish, especially when the dish is still hot, it just really brightens the room and makes your nose know that something delicious is coming, So I really like oregano. And those are pretty much my Italian seasonings. Okay, I'm really excited for this category. I really am, because I feel like these are the thugs of your spice rack. These spices do not play. If you add them, you will taste them, you will smell them, you will feel them in your soul. I I don't know, like I think when I really set out to start making my own recipes and stuff, I didn't really think that I could do an Asian dish any justice because I wasn't Asian. You know what I mean? I thought that they would probably require so many specific spices and specific herbs and specific this and that that you can only get from like that Asian store that's hidden somewhere in your neighborhood. I thought that Asian dishes would be a lot like Nigerian dishes where you can only really make it if you get the specific Nigerian ingredients that are imported from Nigeria and are therefore overpriced in some way. You know what I mean? And like you can only use it for that one dish. Just for the record, as a side note, I am staunchly against anybody who tries to make a goosey soup with pumpkin seeds, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But let's move on. I really love these spices because they just add so much character to a dish. You know, I really do believe in that. And given, I'm not gonna lie, they're not very interchangeable. Like I don't really use them for any other dish. But I guess in retrospect, I don't use like the Cajun seasoning for anything that's not like Cajun in some way, with one exception. And I don't use the Italian seasoning for any dish that's not really Italian. But then again, Italian and versus Italian American is a very blurry category. Even, you know, Asian slash Chinese versus American is a very blurry category because in my opinion, Chinese food is American food. You know, Italian food is American food. Fried rice is very American, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So, yeah, anyway, I digress. So we have ginger, we have sherry cooking wine, we have fish sauce, we have soy sauce, and sesame seed oil, all of which you can find at Walmart. A quick note on ginger. Ginger is known to have so many positive qualities to it. However, I do not feel comfortable, you know, leading you on to believe that if you cook ginger in the way I do, you will get the benefits of ginger. The reason why is because clearly I use a paste. I've never really used ginger powder. I don't think I ever will. I always use a paste. I never use fresh ginger because who has the time? But not only do I not use fresh ginger, I also usually fry it. I never really eat the ginger fresh. It's always one of the first things I cook, and so it really is probably, you know, very denatured by the time you eat it. It's been cooked very thoroughly by the time you eat it, so I don't know how much of the benefits have been cooked off. In case you didn't know, there are a lot of what's the word? There are a lot of benefits in vegetables that if you overcook them, you lose the benefits. So, you know, if you're trying to get more ginger in your life because you want more of the benefits, I kind of think you're probably better off, you know, eating ginger tea or drinking ginger tea, you know, oh my God. I think you're better off drinking ginger tea, preferably made with fresh ginger root. That is my best guess. So yeah, I'll just leave that there. As for the soy sauce, now I know when I was talking about Himalayan pink salt, I went off on this tangent about how West Africans need to watch their salt intake. However, I am not a supporter of reduced sodium soy sauce or reduced sodium anything or fat-free anything or, you know, no sugar, reduced sugar, whatever. I don't really like that. I just kind of feel like if you're going to use an ingredient, use it in its purest form. The reason why I don't like reduced sodium soy sauce, it doesn't even taste that bad, to be honest. So if you really have a problem with hypertension, then sure, get the reduced sodium. But I just kind of feel like oftentimes when I use soy sauce, I don't have a need to add extra salt. And so I feel like if I was using reduced sodium soy sauce, I would end up feeling the need to use salt anyway. So I'm just a very staunch advocate of using food in its purest form. If you shouldn't eat it in its purest form, you probably shouldn't be eating it, period. And you can call me a hypocrite because, you know, I do eat bacon, and I kind of am at this point where I'm intellectually struggling with whether I should be eating pork or not, because I've recently met a lot of people who don't eat pork pretty much for religious reasons, but I just kind of wonder, like, is it really as unclean as they say? Yeah, the thing with bacon though is I'll pretty much only use uncured bacon, which some would argue is not bacon in its purest form or whatever. But then again, some might also argue that it is bacon in its purest form. I can barely talk, but it is what it is. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out the way. I'm not into altering certain foods to make it healthier. Like if it's not inherently healthy, not saying soy sauce is inherently healthy. I don't really think it is, to be honest. But um, if it's not inherently good for you, if you can't eat it in its purest form, then I just kind of feel like you shouldn't be eating it. So let's move on. Okay, so now we're at the Mexican section. Listen. I'm not Mexican. All right. I know I've lived in El Paso for 3 years, and I should know a bit more about Mexican food than I do. I mean, hey, I love eating it. I love Mexican food. It's one of my favorite cuisines, honestly. Um, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Like, I'm not Mexican. I don't know a Mexican chef like that. So, this is the best I can do. I do have some recipes that use taco seasoning mix, and it's just easy. It's efficient. It reminds me of like the Italian seasoning bottle. It's like, how do Mexicans like look at that? Do they kind of feel like, what is this? Or do they kind of feel like, oh, this is nice and simple? I will never know. But yes, I think the few, and honestly, the crazy part is that the Mexican quote unquote recipes that I have are not even Mexican. Like it's ground turkey with avocado wrapped in a flour tortilla. Like that's not really Mexican, but the taco seasoning really makes it all come together. Um, and also, as a quick side note, I have a recipe that's like a fish burrito. And when I made that recipe, I actually used fish taco seasoning mix. And I got it from Whole Foods. And I wasn't able to find it at Walmart. I didn't really want to go out of my way to buy things at Whole Foods because I really want this channel to be like cheap and accessible, as cheap as possible. So I had to go to Walmart. I know that's problematic, but whatever. Um, and yeah, they just didn't have fish taco seasoning, so I'll see if this still works. There was something else I was going to say about how my Mexican dishes are. Oh, yeah. So, fun fact, and I'm going to fact check myself, but burritos aren't actually Mexican. They're actually an American concoction. Like that's actually something that originated from Texas, which I'm not surprised. But burritos are not inherently or originally Mexican. Mexican inspired, of course, but not actually Mexican, which I thought was very interesting and funny. It's kind of like how pizza has evolved over time. Like I remember, especially on the East Coast, you can find a burger pizza. You can find a mac and cheese pizza. One of my favorite pizzas growing up was actually this buffalo chicken pizza. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know what kind of cheese they use, but they have like chicken and then they have some buffalo sauce on it. It was delicious, but that's not really Italian. It's a stretch to call that Italian, even though it is Italian inspired. But that's the beauty of America. So, yeah, Mexican seasoning, taco seasoning mix. And that brings us to the end of our spice list. To be honest, I'm genuinely surprised that I was able to talk about spices for pretty much an hour. Like, pretty much. I don't know how much I'm going to edit down, but, I don't know. I think that this is important. You could always fast forward to the end if you want to see what the actual spice list is. But yeah, here I have all the spices listed with the prices. I think the total is something like $51. So, hopefully it doesn't break your bank to get all the spices listed. You can find everything at Walmart. I have the receipts in front of me. I don't even think you need to be in a certain region of the country, to get these spices, to be honest. Oh my goodness, I totally forgot. One of the spices that I forgot and I didn't list here is not even really a spice, but it's actually liquid smoke. And that should actually go in the Cajun seasoning category. I think I'll go back and I don't know what I'll do, but liquid smoke is actually very important. The reason why it wasn't depicted there is because I couldn't find liquid smoke, especially the liquid smoke that I typically use. I couldn't find that at Walmart when I went looking. Then I had to go back and dig, and then I found this different kind of liquid smoke. So it comes in like 2 flavors, and I'm not sure which flavor is the one I need, so I got both. But yeah, these are the spices. I doubt most of you listened to this whole video, but if you did, I totally appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with virtual me. And I think I'm ready to wrap it up, you know. Enjoy cooking. Bye.